Noodles, if you want to ask a couple of questions and a little bit of back and forth, that's fine. We can't have World War III here today. I haven't built my bunker yet. But I think question mark philosophy, I'll let him on as well. What I'll do, guys, is I will just get out of here for a moment to give Mark space to come on. As I say, keep it civil, keep it respectful. And yeah, thank you very much. I'll be back. So just as I say, go on as long as you want, as long as you can. But I'll just let you guys have a little chat for a bit. And if anybody else comes on, I'll let you know if there might be anybody else. But that's it for now. Okay, I'll let Mark on now.
Cheers, man.
Wow, he's always leaving as soon as I come on. I'm starting to think he's avoiding me.
Is there like a limit of how many people you can have on?
I think it's 10.
Well, if you're not paying for it, then yeah, I think just 6 at a time.
Oh,
okay.
But I had a question for Donna, because she was going on earlier about, I guess that, we should feel like failures or whatever if, someone within our little group or whatever does end up unaliving. And I feel like that's hard. That's hard on us because, like, for example, we all knew Brant, and I'm just wondering what you suggest is a course of action there.
What the course of action in like response to it, or I don't understand.
Like if some, like, okay, so obviously there is something that goes on in this community where people, they vent about that kind of thing. They say, hey, I have these thoughts, I have these feelings, and maybe someday I want to do this, and I don't want to be here forever or whatever. Or they say, I was thinking about doing it or whatever. What do you, I mean, obviously we say, hey, like, we don't want you to do that. We like you being here. I've told Brant that, even though he and I had disagreements in the past, I didn't want anything to happen to him. But it, like, do you think we're supposed to tell someone? Do you think, like, who else are we supposed to, other than the community? Do you think we're actually supposed to go to authorities or something with this stuff?
No, that's not what I meant. I was speaking from a point of a leadership position, maybe as someone who facilitated a group or facilitated a channel on which things were discussed, or basically somebody who I was thinking as a member of my group.
Yeah.
Like a board, for example.
I'd like to respond to that as well, if you don't mind. Oh, sorry, I'm cutting you off, Dana. You probably want to keep going.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Sorry, mate. I'd like to respond to that. I wouldn't go so far as to say anybody has a responsibility to save people. I don't think we can, because again, we don't know who we're talking to, what the situation is. But I will say that I am absolutely against people who push vulnerable people in a certain direction. That's really the central crux of what I'm saying. We can't save people, but but people who are saying, hey, you feel this way, well, here's a way you can do it. That's the thing I'm talking about. I think it's really good that people come online to vent. I think there's a lot of positivity in that. I think there's a lot of value in that. That's I hope that does that make any sense?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's...
So Steve, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So because a lot of what you guys talked about, like, I'm aware of, was the goal to, like, spotlight it, or to come up with, like, strategies and stuff like that?
So I think to talk about it. So I mean, my reason for sort of getting this together was I just don't think that the other side of these things is being discussed enough. There's just a big gaping silence, and I just thought it was appropriate to perhaps push back against a few things and say, hey, just because we're silent doesn't mean we're not noticing, and I think there's something to be said about sort of putting a light on and saying, hey, maybe you think the same way as well. There are other people who think this way. There's nothing we can do to solve these problems, I don't think. I think everyone's got a right to have an internet account and do whatever they want to do with it. So you can't stop people from doing stuff. But I think. Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're. I'm just waffling.
Why do you say silent? Because you guys haven't been silent. Kirk's been very vocal in his group. Dana's been vocal on her channel. You've been vocal on your channel. It's you guys haven't been silent, right?
Yeah, I think this conversation is probably it's kind of like the loudest that we've been.
I have completely privated all my material. I have been effectively silenced. This is the first interaction I've had online in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, your like videos on Efilism, they're still up, right?
No, they are not.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, those were all privated a long time ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I've been very much silenced.
Wait, why do I see them? I see 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah. I have some videos on there, not ones that are just me in front of the camera.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I've had to completely change my presentation style. And all my old stuff is gone. All of it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know, that's years of my life. Years gone. So, yeah. It does make a difference.
I mean, Mark, for what it's worth, I think in my opinion, a more appropriate question is to say, hey, to the people we're talking about and talking to indirectly through this video, why do you stonewall on these issues?
So about that, because like the word stonewalling, because how long have you been doing the campaign, so to speak? Like it feels like 2 years now, right?
So what do you mean? Keep going.
Okay, so like what I'm trying to hint at is like, so I don't know the full details about the Lauren situation because I've been gone for a while, but if the campaign's been going on for many years and it depends on like how it's approached, whether or not people want to engage.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with someone else before, and I'm gonna flatten it now. I just don't give a fuck.
Go ahead.
Because people.
Right, well, okay, so if you don't give a fuck, so then I'll just say it.
No,
like
no,
if you, okay, but let me just say,
sure.
If people come aggressively towards wanting good faith discussions and they're telling each other to fuck off, then that doesn't work, does it?
Sure, and I didn't start off that way. I was very polite right at the beginning. I'm asking people. When I'm talking now, I'm talking specifically about the CSAM stuff. Now, I don't see why I need to be particularly polite about that, or be rude necessarily. Just it's a direct question. Why don't you say something about this? I haven't told anyone in public to go fuck themselves or anything. I've been very strident and very direct. But
I was being hyperbolic in terms of like how you approach it. You know what I mean?
So, but what do you mean how I approach it? I'm not talking about what flavor ice cream.
Steve, why don't you, Steve?
No.
You have a channel, right?
I'm going to finish what I'm saying. I'm not talking about what flavor ice cream do you prefer. I'm talking about people in the antinatalism activism community who have content on their channel promoting the exploitation of sexually abused children. I'm sorry. Am I being too strident against you for that?
No.
Fuck that.
But that's only.
But wait. So you have a channel, right?
Yeah, he does.
Sure.
Okay. So why don't you put together the material that you're talking about? Okay. So you have a video pointing out all of these things on your channel, like, so you compiled all the evidence, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so this is why.
Okay. I'm interested in seeing what you have to say about that and showing all the.
This is not a difficult conversation for me. Like if someone said to me, Steve, what's your opinion on CSAM? I just say I think it's disgusting and it shouldn't be tolerated, and I'm not going to work with people who promote it. It's not a difficult question, and silence to me speaks volumes. It's just nonsense. It's just unbelievable to me.
No, I see what you're saying. What I'm trying to get at is like how I don't know how you broached it. I'm just saying like if there's a campaign against people, right? Because like
I'm not making a campaign against people. All I've ever done is, and look, when it comes to Lawrence, all these people, all I've done is be strident. Everything is public. I've never had private conversations.
Right. But what if someone just doesn't like you and don't want to talk to you?
You don't need to talk to me. Lawrence
This
doesn't
isn't
need to
about
talk to
Steve.
me.
This is about Steve. Why can't you just announce CSAM? Why can't you just announce it?
Yeah.
Why are you so quiet on it? Why did you avoid the question?
It's nothing to do with me. It's absolutely fucking nothing to do with me. Lawrence has a channel. If I was in Lawrence's position, I'd just say, look, I think this is disgusting. I don't want anything to do with it. Ta-da, the topic's finished.
This is about doing what's right. It's not that complicated.
It's not. It's really simple. I can't understand the, well, maybe it's your approach, all that kind of stuff. I just don't, I'm not getting
Well, I mean,
into
if people don't want to talk to you, like, why can't
you
you
don't
understand
need to
that?
talk to me. Nobody needs to talk to me.
You just
This
want
is
them to
not-
make a statement.
I don't see why it's such a big ask given the circumstances.
Wow, I can't speak on behalf of them. I think it's easy.
Yeah, I get that. Like if I asked everybody in this panel, are you on board with CSAM? Everyone go, no, fuck that, it's disgusting. Done.
Yeah.
That's just, to me, it's just so obvious.
So the thing about activism or like activists, like it is highlighting certain activists, right? So
Because
activism is important.
They're the ones who are in the limelight. Well, it's important because of the associations that it brings on the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've backed off in my real life on a lot of this stuff by talking to people about it, because what do? They go online and they look at it and they're just like, whoa, fuck that.
Yeah, and to be clear, like I was gonna like mention in chat, you could have told like some of my story, but so I think there is value in highlighting some of this because even though it's been going on for years, obviously some people haven't heard of it. But it's affected my life too, like personally.
Well, that's why it needs to be brought up.
Yeah.
Tell your story, Mark, because I think it's a good story.
Yeah. So, it's a long story. Like within like the stuff that you guys are highlighting over the years, like I've applied for jobs, I've applied for volunteer positions, and they go online and then they see the associations with it. And because I was dumb enough to use my name, you think I would know better. And my advice for anybody getting involved, do not use your name. Like that would be my
a bit too late for me, I'm afraid.
What's that?
Oh, well, I see it's a bit too late for me, I'm afraid. But anyway, go on.
Oh yeah, it's too late for me. But I regret it a lot because it has affected like when people do Google it and they try to see all the associations. I mean, it's not. I mean, you just have to Google it. It's just bad associations.
Yep.
And it affects your career. It affects your opportunities for volunteering, career building, stuff like that. And maybe some people will think I'm hyperbolic. I'm just going to like give my anecdotal personal story, right? Like some people will say, I don't know what the other people will think, but it's been a negative influence in my life, and I do regret using my name. So yeah.
Mark, is that, you mean your involvement with antinatalism per se? Is that what you mean?
Well, using
Maybe
my
this
name and
is
also
why I
the way
don't
that
get
I
any
approached
jobs.
it. So the way that I approached it was I got involved in it through like the academic literature, and I was naive thinking of bringing academic discourse to the internet, which like trying to have that type of discussion on like say Reddit or Twitter or stuff like that, it's just not possible. And plus I didn't know about some of the darker stuff that was brought up, like Steve, what would like how many years back did you go to, like
How many years did I go back to what?
Like to highlight some of this stuff? Like I've been around for a while, but
yeah, that's probably 10 years back.
Yeah. So like there was no way that I was gonna like find that stuff, right, and see like who I was associating with, and some people just didn't even express their views. So later on, when people started to express their views that were dangerous and unethical, it just it's like, great, now I have my name associated with it, and it sucks.
Right.
So yeah. So it's the antinatalism stuff, but also like using your identifying information.
Yeah, I agree. Putting your name out there is definitely, again, something we would all probably change if we had the chance, you know.
I regret it.
Yeah, it's yeah, but that just proves the point, you know. It does this. I think there's a lot of. I think people have been very cavalier with other people's reputations.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to academia, like, you know, getting all these professors and everything involved in certain discussions, etc. Man,
Well,
I just think there seems to be a real lack of understanding of what these associations mean. There's just some lapse in judgment that goes beyond like a momentary fuck up in your head. There's something really missing in people's calculus here.
we have something in the animal rights community called security culture, and basically no one is to use anyone else's real name ever. You don't ever, and you never like even. You should never even, especially if you're doing activism, you should never even like associate someone else with a particular name, even if it's a real name.
Your microphone's breaking up. Mate.
Yeah, Noodles, you're bugging out, mate. You're clipping in and out. The signal's bad.
No. No.
Yeah.
Still breaking up.
Oh, well, I'll be back.
If I could just like continue with my train of thought about the activism stuff, because it was seen like, at least, and correct me if I'm misinterpreting it, but like kind of, you know, these people are, or maybe you were using a different example of people creating multiple social media accounts or the social influence of it. But at the same time, I think that's highly influential. Like that matters. And I just think like a counter activist can be had. So like the effective altruism, antinatalist style, or whatever school of thought you want to talk about, like another group can be made, right? What do you think of that?
Another group.
I'm sorry, Mark. I didn't actually get the question.
So what I'm trying to say is like fighting activism with activism, not the anti-activism that DNW Do Not Watch mentioned, but like creating, like Kirk is an admin of the Facebook group, but I meant like creating safe spaces for antinatalists is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think, again, I mean, I'll just speak for myself. I'm not anti-activism per se. If people want to do that, knock yourselves out. It's fine. But I would just say I would put two caveats on that. One, I just think it's completely ineffective, and number two, I don't think people should feel guilty or should be guilted into doing it or be forced into doing it or feel that they should have to do it.
So small caveat, like when you say ineffective, you mean positively ineffective, right? Because they have an effect. It's just you're claiming it's negative.
I think.
Right?
I don't think it's an out-group impact. I think it's in-group impact. I think it's just look at that. Like, you know, oh, there's a billboard gone up, and all the antinatalists high-five each other. Look what we're doing. Look what we're doing. You know, all the videos that are done. You know, again, if you want to do that stuff, I'm all for it. Go, you know, in the sense that it's a free world, knock yourself out. But I what impact does it really have? Like, is that really when you? I mean, for me, if I was to put myself out as an activist, I would want to quantify how effective my activism is actually being, and I don't see any of that happening. There's no measurement. There's no yardsticks.
Which is why I don't really call a lot of that stuff activism. Really, I mean, it's I've heard about this with the vegan activists as well. How do you rate? What do you rate as a win for antinatalist activism? Like what's going to be the end goal? You know, how do you know you've actually achieved anything? And I suppose the only way that they can sort of say that is if they've converted people. So it's kind of like team building.
Or how many donations they've received, or how many billboards went up, or how many or how many little public.
Well, the end result of all that stuff, though, the end result of all that activity.
Oh, I
see. You know, putting up the billboards and that is, you know, supposedly for an ostensive end. What is the end of antinatalist activism? Converting people, is that it, or what is it? You know, getting everyone in the world to agree to stop reproducing. I don't know.
Could I just say something, maybe a comment on this? You have what Schopen's criticism, violent opposition, and acceptance as self-evident, the 3 stages of truth. I think we're in stage 1 probably for antinatalism. And another point, in Texas here at least, there are these Thank God advertisements on the highway, and I'm wondering how they measure their success, because is it going to convert me as an atheist to go back to the church? No. So, but they spend millions of dollars on these signs. There, you drive down the highway and you can't help but see these giant black and white signs.
I would say that that's basically virtue signaling.
But it doesn't even tell you who the sign is from. It just says "Thank God." That's it. And,
yeah, well, even so, it doesn't really have to. It's like, oh, thank God. Okay.
I just don't know. I don't know how you measure acceptance.
Right. But Kirk, you're making exactly the correct point. How do you measure it? You can't.
Yeah, I think the only way you can measure it is which stage, if you accept his premise of the 3 stages, are you in? Are we being violently opposed? Are we just being criticized? Or have we reached a state of acceptance as it's self-evident that if you don't make somebody, they don't suffer and they don't cause suffering? So
you've got people who are, these groups are all asking for money from antinatalists for their cause, which and I mean, if it was me, I'd be asking, okay, if I'm going to give you money, what is the actual? How do you quantify the outcome? What am I actually donating to?
It's difficult to do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
One way you could see, like Mark was saying, is if you feel like you can advocate for your religion, or you can just be in a religious organization, or you can be in a martial arts group, or you can be in a sports group, or triathlons, or whatever you want to do, and it doesn't affect your job. That's a step right there. Whereas I think most of us here understand and agree that you have to be very careful about who you let on with your understanding. It affects you. So that would be a step, just being able to go and have yourself protected, where they couldn't fire you or not hire you just because you were an antinatalist, just like if you were Jewish or Catholic or anything else.
So here, I'm going to be a doomer.
Being an antinatalist is not like being Jewish and Catholic, though.
Well, and this is an example. It's just an example.
Yeah. Andrew, I'm going to take your cynicism here. I don't think it's redeemable. I think, or maybe I'm just too pessimistic about the pessimist world. I think it's toxic, and I just would say just protect your identity, and I don't know. That's it. Like,
well, that's reasonable, yeah.
I mean, just
the toxicity itself.
Like I'm like, again, I can't defend these groups. Like, these aren't my groups, and I'm like, they're going to do their thing, right? And I think it's fair to highlight it now that Noodles came on. Like, for me, I'm like, I've heard this a long time, and I thought, I sometimes have a bias, like, oh, everybody knows this stuff already, but obviously not everybody does. So I think there's value in highlighting the toxic stuff, and like every so often being like, hey, by the way, this happened, be forewarned, kind of thing. But that's like, I feel like that's all that can be done at this point. Well, maybe that's enough.
Probably so, but yeah, it's I mean, probably so, but it's better than not doing it. I think better than just sort of, I mean, or if all we can do is just say this is going on, well, we can at least do that.
Yeah.
Because there is a hell of a lot of silence on. Well, I mean, that particular issue we were talking about before. There's a hell of a lot of silence on that. A lot of acceptance of people taking the last decision, all that kind of thing. It's a lot of complacency.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of like I say. I think the silence is because it's politically inexpedient to be vocal about it. But then if we're at a point where it's politically inexpedient to be vocal about that kind of stuff, you're at a bad place. There was also, because the conversation's lulled, I'll just say something, a comment from JE, has Lawrence ever said he doesn't denounce it though? That's not the point. No, I'm not saying Lawrence supports any of this. I'm not saying he's in favor of it. Nothing at all like that at all. I'm sure he's against it. Absolutely positive he's against it. My point is just simply, just why is it so difficult to say? That's all. That's really the bottom line for me.
And why do you associate yourself with people who endorse it?
That too, yeah. And again, I just think to my professional life, you'd just fuck everything. Like, people would not associate with you if you did that. These wouldn't associate with you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you know, my experience with Lawrence in conversation, we got to the point where I said exactly what Dana was saying. It's like, by associating yourself with these people, you get their stink, right?
Yeah.
And so if you don't believe this, you need to state this and or disassociate yourself from this organization or this individual or these other individuals. And his reply, best I can remember, in the conversation was, "Are you going to publish my post or not?" That's what he said. I said, "Well, no,
So he
I'm
just
not."
ignored what you said.
Yeah.
I feel
Exactly.
I mean, he's not here now.
I know it feels uncomfortable when he's
I
not
know,
here.
Yeah,
but-
I do. Yeah, it's fair. That's fair.
But can we can I use?
Can I just say something else? He's a very
Okay.
intelligent guy. He's actually quite young as well, and he is very much out there. I do worry about him because I think he's a good. He's actually. I think his heart is in the right place for a lot of things. You know.
Look, I'll go even further than you. I think if he, again, the word stink is good. If he got that stink off him, he could probably do really well in this space. I really, because he is smart, he's intelligent, he's media savvy, he's got all this stuff going for him. It's just that this is like a gaping wound that needs to be fucking cauterized. And if you don't do it, then fuck.
I agree, Steve. You know, I gave him a lot of support on the Facebook group. I posted his things. I went through his videos to ensure that they met basic standards. I gave him a lot of support. I think a lot of this he has a good understanding of antinatalism. And then when I saw this problem, and I addressed it probably 2 or 3 years ago, and kind of got an iffy response, I thought, well, he's young. Let me see if he works this out. But I said, this is what you need to do. And 2 or 3 years later, he hadn't done it. And then he was still trying to push this stuff, which has obvious things. I quoted it to him. I said, this is where I have a problem. This is where I have a problem with this. Let me know what your response is to it. And I kind of got the talk to the hand response. So I said, well, okay, then we are done. And that's that. I don't understand it, though. I really don't understand why he can't see
What
it.
about Kirk? People come to AN for different reasons, and you know, in your group, for example, there may be people who came to it because they were vegan, or you know, there may be people who came to it because of some other, I suppose you could say, correlating ideology or viewpoint. Why did you feel the need to shut him down in that respect? I mean, is it not the case that there are other kind? It's not exactly harm. I wouldn't say what he was saying was very harmful, was it? You know.
No, I think it was because he was basically promoting a conflation of diet and other issues. There were even more fundamental things. His association with, if we're going to name names, Amanda, and her association with Gary and Efilism. And I saw where he was taking it, and I said, this is problematic. You need to be clear, and I think you might need to disassociate yourself from these, and here are the reasons why. And if you don't do that, then I can't in good faith promote your organization. I can't promote her because her face is right on the front site there. I said, I cannot put that on in the group. I can't promote this because when I allow a post to be posted there, unless it's specifically for people to discuss what's wrong with it, it's fundamentally an inherent promotion of that activity or that event or that person. And I said, if you don't, so that's the problem I had with him. And he refused to renounce his association. He didn't change anything. I gave him 2 to 3 years to do that.
Right,
and
guys.
So I said, we're done.
He's not here, so
I know.
Yeah,
this is all factual, though. It's all factual.
Can I just say, I think I'm going to have to call it a close soon.
Okay.
But before I do that, I'll go around. Could you give like your current like standing in terms of AN? Is that all right? What you
Current standing.
Yeah, are you an antinatalist, and if so, why?
Oh, okay. You know, have you ever been an
Well,
anti-natalist?
maybe start with Dana and go around clockwise.
What am I supposed to do again?
Well, I mean, your current standing in regards to antinatalism.
My current standing.
Yeah, like, are you an antinatalist, and if so, why? That just briefly, with as much brevity as possible.
Look, all I'm going to say, if there's anything that anybody needs to take away from this tonight, it is that you do need to exercise your association with caution. You do need to protect yourself. This just might seem like the internet, but it spills over into real life. And sometimes it does that and you don't even know it. And protect yourself and protect your identity, because it's all you got. And once that goes, you make yourself vulnerable on so many fronts. And it is naive. It is naive to think that there aren't people out there that wouldn't use that information against you, be it anti-natalist or not. I think if anyone can take away anything from this group tonight, I hope it's that. And also, take a break from this stuff. Balance it out with other things. Don't get into a dark downward spiral that this leads to somewhere that might lead to somewhere like self-deletion, or in those. Once you start getting into those groups, that's a red flag. You've gone too far. Because this is not, there are other places to talk about that stuff, and there are other ways to talk about stuff in places with people that are more qualified and might have your better interests at heart.
Those groups, are you talking about the
like self-deletion groups, like self-deletion boards? Like, once you find yourself there, that's a red flag, because those kinds of places will absolutely tell you how to facilitate that kind of stuff. And once you find yourself on a board like that, or curious about that kind of board, that is a red flag. That means you need to stop, take a step back, and re-examine things, because you're going in a very dark direction. You're in that downward spiral if you're in places like that.
Fair enough. Kurt?
So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for having me on tonight, guys. I got to get going. I have some things to do. Thank you so much, Steve, for facilitating this. Thank you, Kirk, for coming on. And thank you also, Kirk. Kirk, by the way, you guys, is an unsung hero. Being a moderator of any group, let alone a huge group of some kind of controversial nature is a thankless job. It is a hard, thankless job. And pretty much all you do is catch shit. And nobody ever tells you when you've done anything right. They only talk to you when you want to think that you've done something wrong or they disagree with you. So I just want to say, I know how hard it is, Kirk, because I haven't been in a group you were big or quite like with your responsibility, but damn, dude, I know. And thank you so much for all the time that you've contributed, all your energy, all your wisdom and your experience and your knowledge. You are one of the shining lights of this community, and we are really, really lucky to have you. So.
Well, thank you so much, Dana. That makes me feel very, very good.
Good. I'm so glad.
I want to riff off that. I was admin for that group for like 2 weeks, and I couldn't handle it. So
it's hardcore. What he does is hardcore, and it takes an amazing amount of patience.
The amount of stuff you have to filter out is a lot. Yeah.
And on that note, too, thank you, Mark, for coming on and being honest about your experience. And I really hope that someone can y'all listen to him and benefit from his wisdom and his experience.
Yeah, it's good to see you back.
Thank you. I'll be back. We'll see. Thanks again, DNW. You're immense for hosting this, dude.
Okay, Donna, thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And Kirk, if you want to go next, say whatever you want in closing.
I would say that I have been an anti-natalist for 60 years. And it's always been something I've had to fundamentally hide in my life, career-wise, with friends, family, all those things. And as I got older, I kept looking for anything that might poke a hole in my understanding of this just basic fundamental principle of life, existence. And I had never found one. And so as I got into my middle age, I started to be a little more vocal, or just a little less cautious about it. And then now in my older age, because I guess I have less to lose, I don't know if the Social Security checks will stop coming, but I've decided, to go ahead and take on something with my name and be an admin for the Facebook group and things like that. And, I don't go out and march around with a sign. I'm too old for that. But I do think that it's just such a simple principle, and I do want to raise awareness of it so that it isn't one of those things that you have to actually hide from other people. I think that would be a big step. If I could see that kind of movement, and I think I do see it just in people's lives, I think that's a victory right there.
Okay, thank you, Kirk. Andrew?
Yes. What were we talking about again?
Antinatalism.
Just closing remarks.
Antinatalism. Okay.
That's the topic.
Closing remarks. I think there's a lot more that can be discussed and a lot more that needs to be discussed. We don't have the time now, but hopefully these issues and more about things that we can say are wrong in the scene can be brought up convivially, so that people can actually discuss these problems rather than just pretend they're not there.
Okay, and Steve?
I'll probably just end up repeating myself. So I just want to thank everyone for joining tonight. I think all of you are really valuable people in this community, and I think your opinions are very valuable. So thank you so much. Cheers.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
And a Mark? Question mark?
Yeah, I exist.
Yeah, no, I was doing it in order. Just, you came on afterwards. So
Isn't that the problem, Mark?
Oh.
So would you guys be down for a round two? Because there's an itch that hasn't been scratched for me when it comes to information hazards and associations, like exploring the ethics or platforming in associations with people. And I've talked about it for a while with multiple people, but I don't know what everybody's views are, and I would you guys be down for that? And if you're not, that's okay too. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm up. Yeah.
I believe that was the initial plan to come back here again, talk about other stuff, because they have.
But as Andrew just said, I mean, there's even so much that we can all recognize that wasn't said. There's so many directions this kind of stuff can go in. So.
Mark, could you just quickly elaborate on what you are interested in? I'm not sure I understand.
So, specifically when it comes to information hazards, it was exactly the topics of. So I understand how you moderate the group, and it's a little frustrating as someone who likes to read the philosophical literature, because if you look at some of the okay, I don't want to debate it, but there are ancillary considerations or related ethical theories and ideas, and I understand you wanting to keep it to the basics, but so for me, who wants to explore the topics, that leaves me in a position where I have to be careful of who I platform and what I talk about. So for example, promortalism, I've talked about promortalism on my channel. I've had to put it to 18 plus, or sometimes I private it when I'm too paranoid, and I'm I don't know what what's good to put out there, what's harmful. It could be true in terms of, well, sorry, not the soundness of their arguments, but just even exploring dangerous ideas. That seems to be there seems to be an ethics there, and that's and a responsibility there, and that's something that I'd like to discuss and explore with some people. And then when it comes to associations, I mean, I was associated with a lot of these people. And so yeah, I guess now I'm not associated with anybody, but at the time, what were the ethics and the responsibilities of the types of associations and how you associate and how do you platform? Those are two things that I would still like to tease out. Maybe it's maybe people are tired of the topic, but I don't know. Okay. It has relevance to me, I guess, and what I want to do in the future.
Might just put the feelers out, and if people are interested in talking, they'll come. It doesn't matter if other people aren't interested in listening.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
but does that answer your question, Kirk?
Yes, it does, very clearly. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I think that's everything for now.
And thank you, DNW. I know you were hesitant about but yeah, I think it went well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, take care, everybody, and good luck and be lucky and all that. That's it for now. I mean, good vibes only. Take care.
Cheers. For lunch. See you.
Bye. Take care. Bye.